To James Holt, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to our quarantine theater company reading tonight. If in case you couldn't tell, we are doing The Devil Wears the Prada, and it's going to be a fun read. Very fun read tonight. If you couldn't tell, as our Miranda Priestley, we have Le Jeremy.
Oh,
That
that's
was
amazing.
perfect. I also wanted a wow when you did that too, but as little David Caruso. As Andy Sachs, we have Kate with us. The Andy Diaries. I just caught her name. It's fantastic. As Nigel, the Tooch, we've got the girl primping right there, Jennifer. Oh my god, I love it. It's fabulous. I will be playing Emily this evening. As Nate and Giselle Bundchen, we've got Corey. Um, and oh my god, we had some dropouts. Let me skip forward. Okay, as James Holt and other characters, we've got Le Travis. I don't know why I'm doing Le in front of everything. As Jacqueline Follet and Christian Thompson, we've got Jack Le Jacques. We've got Jacqueline. Ooh, it works. It works.
You'll see.
As our scene description tonight, and as our Irv Rabbits and Doug and Paul and several other people, is the real rock star of tonight's reading is Kevin, because he's doing it all. And last but not least is our friend Liz. She's going to be Richard and Caroline and a few other characters as well. So welcome. And without further ado, cue the Suddenly I See.
The Devil Wears Prada. Fade in. Steam on a mirror. Wiped off by Andy Sachs, 20s, pretty but not glamorous. Smart but green, hair up in a towel, brushing her teeth. We intercut Andy getting ready, and we see 3 or 4 other girls getting ready too. A drawer filled with about 40 lipstick slides into frame. One of the girls carefully applies shiny lip gloss with a brush, and he puts on a cherry chapstick. A lacy thong floats through the air. One of the girls pulls it up with her glossy legs. A comfy cotton pair of jockey bikinis is tugged out of a pile, and he pulls them on. Gorgeous pair of sling-back heels. One of the girls pulls the shoes on while her model handsome boyfriend reclines on crisp white sheets watching her. A pair of comfortable wedges, Andy dresses while Nate, rumpled, unshowered, wearing an old Alice in Chains t-shirt, watches her, reclining in mismatched bed-in-a-bag sheets. A series of quick cuts. Andy eats a full breakfast, eggs, bacon, bagel. One of the girls carefully counts out 7 almonds and pours a huge cup of black coffee. Andy straightens a pile of newspaper clips from the Daily Northwestern with the byline, Andrea Sachs, and proudly tucks them into her hideous college graduation present briefcase. One of the girls takes Listerine breath strips, keys, and a Gucci money clip and shoves everything in a tiny Fendi clutch. Exterior New York, the girls looking flawless fold their legs into taxis and town cars as Andy trots down the streets and into the subway. Office building, lobby. Andy strides into an office building confident. A guard stops her, indicates she signs his clipboard. She signs in.
What floor is Elias Clark, Human Resources?
The guard just looks at her. What?
Honey, you want West 57.
Exterior, 57th Street, day. Andy runs, but she's moving against the pedestrian tie. We widen out to see Andy bucking the flow like a salmon going upstream. She gets into an intersection, starts to cross the street, and just misses being decked by a bike messenger. Elias Clark, day. Andy sees the tower looming in front of her. Elias Clark. Streaming into the building are the polished girls we saw in the opening. Their heels click-clack on the concrete. They are the clackers of Elias Clark. Andy runs in. Elevator, day. Andy is a shrub in a clacker forest. One turns to another.
You look awesome today. I can't wear cropped pants. I look like a whale.
Oh, please. I look terrible. I almost called in fat today.
Andy looks at them, then down at herself. If they're fat, what am I? Ding. Elevator opens and Andy exits. Elias Clark Human Resource Office, day. Andy sits across from Sherry, 40s. On the wall are covers from the Elias Clark Elias Clark magazines, a news magazine, a cooking magazine, a fitness magazine, and Runway. Andy is unloading clips from her horrible briefcase.
This article was about the Take Back the Night March. This was a 4-part series on the impact of busing on the public schools.
Sherry holds up her finger to stop Andy talking.
I have 2 positions available. One is assistant to the road test editor of Auto Universe magazine.
And the other one?
Interior, runway reception area, day. Sleek, elegant, hard edge, chic. Behind the reception desk is an elegant logo that says Runway. Andy walks over.
Hi, I have an appointment with Emily Charlton.
Andrea Sachs.
Emily and Miranda later pronounce Andrea as Audrea. Andy refers to herself as Andrea. Andy turns and sees a taller, thinner, and amazingly, a more groomed clacker. This is Emily. She looks the part of the sleek fashionista, but is propelled by a core of barely tamped down anxiety. She examines Andy.
Human Resources certainly has a bizarre sense of humor. Follow me.
Interior runway hallway. Emily briskly walks Andy down the hall.
Okay, so I was Miranda's second assistant, but her first assistant recently got promoted, so now I'm the first.
Andy glimpses at an office in front of them, seductively bright.
And you're replacing yourself.
I'm trying. Miranda sacked the last 2 girls after only a few weeks. We need to find someone who can survive here. Do you understand?
Yes, of course. Who's Miranda?
I'll pretend you didn't just ask me that. She's the editor-in-chief of Runway, not to mention a legend. Work a year for her and you can get any job at any magazine you want. 1 million girls would kill for this job.
Sounds great. I'd love to be considered.
She smiles. Emily tries to think how to break it to her.
Andrea, Runway is a fashion magazine. An interest in fashion is crucial.
What makes you think I'm not interested in fashion?
Emily gives her a look. Andy smiles, like she has no idea what Emily could mean. Suddenly, Emily's BlackBerry goes off. She gasps.
Oh my god, no, 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 no!
What's wrong?
Exterior, Elias Clark, day. A black sedan pulls to a sudden stop outside the building. Interior, runway, bullpen. Emily begins rapid fire dialing for digit extensions.
She's on her way. Tell everyone.
Just
I thought
then,
she was coming.
a dapper man of about 40 walks briskly by.
I thought she was coming in at 9.
Her driver text messaged. Her facial is ruptured it is. God, would these people.
Sorry, no time to discuss. Nigel turns and sees Andy, looks at Emily. Who is that?
Well,
That, I can't even talk about that.
No time
all
to
right,
discuss.
everyone. Yep. Guard your damn loins. Did somebody eat an onion bagel?
Behind him, Andy tries not to look guilty. Exterior, Elias Clark, day. The sedan door opens. We see only flashes of Miranda, what she's wearing, not the complete picture yet. Manolos, Chanel jacket, Van Cleef earrings. Interior, runway, bullpen. Assistants frantically push clothing rails out of the way. Editors race into their office. Andy peers in. One of the editors changes from kitten heels to sky-high stilettos. Another pulls on a body shaper under her dress. Another hurriedly dumps the remains of her breakfast, some cubes of cantaloupe, into the trash. Interior, Elias Clark lobby. We watch Miranda walk in through the lobby. We see people react to her. Guards, assistants, and secretaries cower. Distinguished executives bow their heads in respectful greeting. Miranda maintains a high rate of speed towards the elevator. She gets in. The clacker inside immediately leaps out.
Sorry, Miranda.
Miranda doesn't acknowledge her existence. Interior, runway, bullpen. Emily races to the kitchen, gets a glass, reaches into the fridge, pours a Pellegrino, races into Miranda's office, races back out, grabs an armful of magazines and newspapers from her desk, and runs back into Miranda's office. Interior, runway, reception area. Miranda steps out of the elevator, and for the first time, we see her head on. Miranda's look is so distinctive, you can spot her a mile away. She is unlike any other beautiful woman, singularly Miranda. Interior, runway, bullpen. Emily types frantically into her computer, presses print, stands by the printer waiting, takes the paper out of the printer, puts it in a clipboard, notices Andy.
No, you're still here. Go!
Andy gets up.
No, stay. I don't want you walking past her. Just sit there and I'll pray she doesn't notice you marring my area.
Andy sits back down.
Wow, this is like some self-esteem camp.
Interior, runway hallway. Until the moment Miranda enters the office for a reception. Instantly, a quiet falls. Everyone looks calm and professional, or fakes it. Emily, phony smile on her face, trots down the hall to walk to Miranda to her office.
I don't understand why it's so difficult to confirm an appointment.
I'm so sorry, Miranda. I actually did confirm last night, but...
The details of your incompetence do not interest me.
Miranda gestures impatiently. Emily hands her the clipboard. Miranda pursues it as they walk down the hall.
Tell Simone I'm not approving the girls she sent in for the Brazil layout. I wanted clean, athletic, and smiling, not dirty, tired, and paunchy. RSVP yes to the Michael Kors party. The car will drop me at 9:30 and wait until I leave at 9:45. Tell Natalie at Glorious Foods for the 40th time, no, I don't want that food filled with warm rhubarb compote. I want the chopped almonds.
Emily jots everything down.
Call my ex-husband and remind him the parent-teacher conference at Dalton are tonight. Then call my husband and tell him to meet me for dinner at the place I went with Massimo.
Right.
And tell Richard I saw the pictures of the feature on female paramedics and they're also unattractive. I don't understand how hard it is to find a decent-looking paramedic. Also, I need to see what Nigel has called in for Gwen's second cover. Try.
Miranda stops at Emily's desk, takes off her coat, dump it onto Emily's desk, walks past Andy, seeming not to notice her.
Who is that?
Damn, did notice her. Emily follows Miranda. Interior, runway, Miranda's office.
No, buddy. Human Services sent her up about the assistant job and I was about pre-interviewing her for you, but...
I'll do it. The last two you sent me were total disappointments. Send her in.
Interior, runway, bullpen. Emily walks out of Miranda's office, points at Andy.
She wants to see you. Go, go, go.
And before Andy walks in, Emily takes Andy's hideous briefcase and chucks it under the desk.
Don't show her that. That's foul.
Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Andy walks in. Miranda's office is chic, clean, walls lined with photos by Avedon, Penn, Testino, and Meisel. Butchered all those. We see large frame photos of Miranda, her husband Stephen, and her twin girls, Cassidy and Caroline, in the Hamptons. The Ice Pellegrino sits on a coaster on the desk. A pile of magazines is spanned out precisely on the table.
Who are you?
Andy hands her resume to Miranda. Miranda ignores it.
My name is Andy Sachs. I recently graduated from...
What are you doing here?
I think I could do a good job as your assistant, and
Miranda gives her a look.
I came to New York to be a journalist, and I sent letters to everyone, and I finally got a call from Elias Clark and met with Sherry in Human Resources, and basically it's this or Auto Universe.
Andy stops. Can't quite believe she said that. Miranda takes in this burst of honesty.
Don't read Runway?
Nope.
And before today, you had never heard of me?
Nope.
And you have no style or sense of fashion?
Well, that depends on...
No. What's the question? Nope.
I was editor-in-chief of the Daily Northwestern. I won a national competition for college journalists with a series on janitors' union.
Miranda holds her hands up.
That is all. Please.
Andy, startled by the abruptness, keeps talking.
That uncovered the exploitation of...
Miranda stares. Andy abruptly stops talking, heads for the door. Then she stops and turns.
Okay, you're right. I don't fit in here. I'm not glamorous or skinny. I don't know much about fashion, but I'm smart. I learn fast and I'll work very hard.
And Miranda says nothing. Just then we hear a voice. Someone heading into Miranda's office.
We got the exclusive on the yellow cavalli for Gwyneth, the one he showed with a huge feathered headpiece. I mean, but she'll look like she's working the main stage at the Golden fucking Nugget. I mean, so instead, why don't we...
Jill stops when he sees Andy.
Thank you for your time.
She summons all her dignity and exits, walking past Nigel, who looks at Miranda.
Who is that sad little person? Are we doing a before and after piece that I didn't know about?
Interior, Elias Clark lobby. Andy staggers out of the elevator, catching her breath. Suddenly, she hears someone calling.
Andrea!
Andy turns and sees Emily. Interior, Nate's restaurant. Nothing fancy, the kind of place that refills your Sprite. Andy's with two of her friends, Doug and Lily. Doug is built like a linebacker, very sweet. And her boyfriend, Nate, great looking, no vanity. He's the kind of guy who had his own radio show in college and played intramural rugby. It's the end of Nate's shift and he's wearing his kitchen whites. There are just a few people left in the restaurant at the bar.
Wow. You got a job at a fashion magazine. Was it a phone interview?
Andy laughs, smacks him playfully.
Don't be a jerk.
Miranda Priestley is famous for being unpredictable.
Okay, how is it that you know who she is and I didn't?
I'm actually a girl.
That would explain so much.
Seriously, Miranda is a huge deal. I bet a million girls would kill for that job.
Yeah, it's just that I'm not one of them.
You have to start somewhere. Look at this jump Nate works at. Paper napkins. Hello?
And Lily works at that gallery doing, what the hell is it that you do?
Lucky for me, I have my dream job.
You're a corporate research analyst.
Which totally rocks. The free bagels on Thursdays, the booze, the whores. You're right, there are no bagels and only a few whores. Exterior, Nate's restaurant, street, night. The pavement is shiny from a recent rain. It's a chilly night in March. Andy and Nate walk home.
You should see the way the girls dress at Runway. I'm not sure I have anything to wear to work.
You're going to be answering phones and getting coffee. You need a ball gown for that?
I think I might.
I think you look great. Always.
She smiles. He pulls her in.
You're so full of it.
He laughs and kisses her.
Come on, let's go home. I can think of something you can do without clothes.
Just then, a Lincoln Town car comes barreling up the street going way too fast, almost clipping them.
Asshole!
He and Andy give the car the finger, laughing. Interior, Andy and Nate's apartment. Small, with the view of an air shaft. The bed's a futon. On the floor, Andy and Nate are asleep. Dim light trickles in. Nate wakes up, pulls Andy closer. Soon they're kissing. Their kisses become more urgent. Andy's cell phone rings, shrill, annoyingly upbeat. She feels around, finding the phone.
Hello? Now?
She looks over at the alarm clock, which reads 6:15 a.m. Interior, runway. Emily is in the office.
Miranda decided to kill the Autumn Jacob story for September. She's pulling the Sedona shoot from October. You need to go into the office right this second. Pick up her coffee order on the way. Write this down!
Omitted. Interior, Andy's apartment. Andy has tried on every bit of clothing she owns. There's a huge discard pile on the floor. Her closet is empty. She looks at her outfit in the mirror and is promptly overcome by a wave of self-hatred. No time to fix it. Omitted. Exterior, Starbucks. Andy, carrying a Starbucks tray loaded with coffee, drinks, and snacks, races up the street, sloshing coffee on her shoes. Her phone rings.
Where are you?
I'm almost there.
She runs faster. Interior, runway, reception. Andy steps out of one elevator as Nigel exits the other. A beat. He realizes.
No.
Yes, she gave me the job.
Clearly, my opinion means nothing. Nigel Kipling, fashion director. Let's see what we're working with. Wow, it's like Oklahoma and New Jersey had a baby out of wedlock.
Actually, I'm from Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, it's not possible. Not you.
As Andy heads down the hall.
Welcome to the dollhouse, baby.
Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Miranda is standing by the door to her office as Lucia, a beautiful Brazilian woman who is one of the senior editors, walks in with a couple of fashion assistants.
The reason my coffee is not here, was I unclear in some way?
Emily looks panicked. Interior, runway, bullpen. Andy races down the hall, carrying the coffee to the bullpen, before Andy can even say hello.
I hope you know how this is a very difficult job for which you are totally unqualified for, and if you mess up, my head is on the chopping block.
Emily takes the coffee, brings it into Miranda's office, walks back out to her desk.
Okay, first of all, you and I answer the phones. The phones must be answered every single time it rings. Phones roll to voicemail, and she gets very upset. If I'm not here, you are chained to this desk.
What if the building's on fire or my appendix explodes or something?
You are chained to this desk. One time, an assistant left the desk because she sliced her hand open with a letter opener. Miranda missed Lagerfeld right before he boarded a 17-hour flight to Australia. She now works at TV Guide.
Man the desk at all times. Got it.
The phone rings. Emily picks it up.
Miranda Priestley's office. She's not available. I'll tell her you called. Yet again. Remember, you and I have totally different jobs. I mean, you run errands and get coffee, etc. I am in charge of her schedule, her expenses, her appointments, and most importantly, I get to go with her to Paris for Fashion Week in the fall.
Emily points to her Arc de Triomphe screensaver.
I get to wear couture and go to all the shows and all the parties, meet all the designers. It's divine. Okay, stay here. I'm going to the art department to give them the book.
Emily shows Andy a thick scrapbook.
The book is a mock-up of don't touch everything in the current issue. We deliver it to Miranda's apartment every night, and she returns it in the morning with her notes. The second assistant is supposed to do it, but Miranda is very private and doesn't like strangers going to her house. So until she decides you're not a psycho, I get the lovely task of waiting around for the book.
How do I prove I'm not a psycho?
I have no idea.
And with that, Emily pivots and walks away. Andy looks around, unsure.
Wait, what do I do if...
Emily keeps walking, and sure enough, the phone rings. Andy looks at it.
Oh no. Oh no. Miss Priestley's office? That's what I meant. Miranda Priestley's office.
She searches around for a pen.
She's in a meeting. Can I take a message? I'm sorry, can you spell Gabbana? Guess not.
She hangs up, takes a breath. Okay, got through one call. Just then, Jocelyn, the attractively tomboyish accessories editor, walks out of Miranda's office.
Run through at 3, shoot AM tomorrow. Of course, no problem.
Jocelyn glares at Andy.
Who the hell does she think I am, Houdini?
Hi, I'm Andy. I'm the new...
Great, fantastic. If you'll excuse me, I gotta go pull a bunch of French purses out of my ass.
Andy turns and sees Nigel walking down the hall carrying a pair of stunning Dolce slingbacks. He holds out the shoes.
I guessed 8.5.
That's very nice of you, but I don't need those. Miranda hired me. She knows what I look like.
Do you?
Emily?
We hear Miranda clearly. She's not yelling. She never yells.
Emily?
She means you.
Andy takes a deep breath. Andy appears in the door. Miranda is talking to Paul, the art director, who's showing her a layout.
It's too dark. I can't see any of the clothes. Do you have anything to add, Paul?
It's recording.
Go for it.
Andy appears in the door. Miranda is talking to Paul, the art director, who is showing her a layout.
It's too dark. I can't see any of the clothes.
I think he intended to use shadow to show the contours
No,
of the...
I want the title of the layout to bleed over the left side of the photo.
I see. Well, we needed room for the typeface to pick up the lines of the dress, which is cut on the bias, so we...
No. That's not what I want. I made that abundantly clear.
Miranda looks up and sees Andy.
There you are, Emily. How many times do I have to scream your name?
Actually, it's Andy.
Miranda gives Andy a look, and Andy notices she brought the room to a screeching halt.
My name is Andy. Andrea, but people call me Andy.
What a fantastic story. So entertaining and full of useful information.
Miranda looks at her and smiles, terrifying.
I need 10 or 15 skirts from Calvin Klein.
What kind of...
Please bore someone else with your questions. Make sure we can get Pier 59 at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Remind Jocelyn I want to see a few of those satchels Mark is doing in the pony. And tell Simone I'll take Frankie if Maggie is not available tomorrow. And did Demarchier confirm?
Demar...
On the phone.
As Andy leaves,
And Emily?
Andy turns.
Yes?
And Miranda doesn't say anything, just looks at Andy's shoes, then back up at Andy. Her message, unmistakable. Interior, runway, office, bullpen. Andy flies out of Miranda's office, races over to the desk, pulls on the Dolces. Miranda immediately calls out.
Do you have Demarchier?
Andy tries to look the name up in the address book on the computer.
It's Marshall. D-E-M-A.
Just then, Emily appears behind Andy. She dials the phone.
I have Miranda Priestley calling. I have Patrick.
She flips the call to Miranda, then turns to Andy, who's slightly panicked.
She called me in and asked me about Pier 59. She said something about Simone and Frankie and someone else, and she needs skirts from Calvin Klein, and I think that's the most important thing, but I couldn't tell. Oh, and there was something about a pony?
Did you say which skirts? Did you say what kind? Color, shape, fabric?
I tried to ask her, but...
You never ask Miranda anything. All right, I'll take care of the other stuff. You go to Calvin Klein.
Me?
I'm sorry, do you have a prior commitment? So some hideous skirt convention I don't know about?
So I just, go down to Calvin Klein and ask them?
Emily rolls her eyes so hard they almost eject from her head.
You're not going to the store.
Of course not. I'm going to his house.
You are catching on quickly. We always send assistants to a designer's home on the very first day. You're going to his showroom. I'll give you the address.
Sorry, got it. What's the nearest subway stop?
Good God! You do not, under any circumstances, take public transportation.
On Andy. I don't? Exterior, Elias Clark. Andy steps out, sees a black Lincoln town car. She smiles. Exterior, Elias Clark, interior town car. Andy rides uptown. She looks around, the magazines, the tiny bottles of water, the little dishes of candy. The driver, Roy, looks at her in the mirror. Miranda's new assistant. Congrats.
Thanks.
Andy takes some candy. You know.
You're gonna say a million girls would kill for my job.
Actually, I was going to say those jelly beans are 7 years old. And he puts the candy back. Exterior, Calvin Klein showroom. Andy looks up at the showroom. Her phone rings again.
Are you there?
I'm about to walk in. I'll call you as soon as...
Click. Her phone immediately rings again.
Oh, while you're out, Miranda needs you to go to Hermes and pick up 25 scarves we ordered for her. Cassidy forgot her homework at Dalton, pick that up, and Miranda went out to meet with Mizell. She'll want more Starbucks when she gets back.
Click. Interior, Calvin Klein showroom. Liz, the sales rep, brings out a rack of skirts for Andy.
You must be new kill for your job. I would. I love Miranda. She's such an icon. I've dealt with her a couple times, but I'm sure she doesn't remember.
Just then, Andy's phone rings.
What do they have?
Andy looks at the rack, searching for the right terminology.
There's a variety of skirts. Let's see.
Liz's mouth. Andy nods. Liz smiles.
Who's there? Who are you dealing with?
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Liz.
It's Liz.
Ugh, get away from her. She's useless and unattractive. Ask for Ivan. Tell him we're doing a reshoot tomorrow and need at least 10 skirts.
Click. Andy looks at Liz.
What did she say?
Is Ivan in by any chance?
I'll get him.
Interior, runway, bullpen. Andy walks in, laden with stuff and more coffee and snack. Emily springs up.
Oh my God, what took you so long? I have to pee.
You haven't peed since I left?
Just then, Miranda walks through, dumps her coat on Andy's desk, and walks into her office.
You do the coke. Do the coat.
She points to the closet. Andy quickly hangs up the coat.
Now, be prepared. The run-through is at 12:30 and people are panicking, so the phone is going to be ringing off the hook.
Run through. Right.
Clearly, he has no idea what a run-through is.
The editors bring in options for the shoot Miranda chooses. She chooses every single thing in every single issue. Run-throughs are a huge deal.
And indeed, Andy can see editors running in and out of their offices, rack of clothes and accessories flying.
Is it always like this?
No, sometimes it's busy.
Just then, the tallest, thinnest, and most intimidating clacker, the severely dressed, highly snobby Serena, walks over.
After the loo, Serena and I are going to lunch. This is her, the new me.
Serena eyes Andy with disbelief.
I told you.
Thought you were kidding.
Oh no, I was quite serious.
Emily turns to Andy.
I get 20 minutes for lunch, you get 15. When I come back, you can go.
As Andy watches Emily and Serena's thin hips as they move down the hall, talking about how absurd Andy looks.
You eat lunch?
Interior, Elias Clark cafeteria. A pasta bar, deserted. A pizza station, not a soul. A salad bar. Girls crowd the lettuce area, though no one's within a mile of the dressing region. Andy races over to the deserted soup station, quickly ladles some corn chowder into a bowl. Nigel walks by with his tray.
Corn chowder. Interesting choice.
Andy looks at him, confused.
You do know that cellulite is one of the ingredients of that corn chowder?
They walk over to the register, which has a long line. A few girls are openly gaping, amazed that Andy selected chowder.
None of the girls here eat anything?
Not since 2 became the new 4 and 0 became the new 2.
I'm a 6.
Which is the new 14.
Andy dips a piece of bread in her chowder, eats it. Seeing this, two of the clackers gasp in horror. Then Andy notices she's stripped on her blouse. She dabs it.
Something tells me you've got more polyblend where that came from.
Okay, you think my clothes are hideous. I get it, okay? But I'm not going to be working in fashion forever. I don't see a reason to change everything about myself just because I have this job.
You're right, because that's what this multi-million-dollar industry is all about. Inner beauty.
Just then, Nigel's phone rings. He picks up, listens.
Fuck. Miranda wants us upstairs. Chairman's on his way down to her office.
Clothes on. Andy's corn chowder and Nigel's salad being chucked into the garbage. Interior, Elias Clark, elevator. Andy and Nigel get in. Irv Rabbits is already riding up. Nigel nods. Differential.
Mr. Rabbits.
Nigel? Is she going well?
Our biggest September ever.
Great. I heard Miranda killed Autumn Jackets and pulled up the Sedona shoot. What's that costing me?
About 300,000.
Must have been some lousy jackets. But I'm sure she knows what she's doing.
Always.
Irv glances over to Andy, offers his hand. Irv Rabbits.
I'm sorry. This is Andy Sachs, Miranda's new assistant.
Congratulations, young lady. A million girls would kill for that job. The elevator opens. Irv nods to Nigel and exits.
Chairman of Elias Clark. You know what they say. Tiny man. Huge ego. We should have taken the stairs.
Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Accessories are spread out on the floor in basket trays. Clothes are on racks. Miranda clicks through the racks.
No. I swear I don't understand why it's so difficult for you to pull together a decent run-through. You had hours to prepare. Where are all the advertisers?
We had some pieces from Banana Republic and...
We need more.
Miranda holds up a skirt, shows it to Nigel.
What do you think?
You know me, a full ballerina skirt with a hint of saloon, and I am on board.
Too much like the
Look, Croy from July, July. I thought of that, but with the right accessories, you know, it could work.
Miranda nods. He's right, of course.
Where are the belts for this skirt?
Jocelyn races over and holds up 2 belts. Miranda studies them, and he looks at them too. To us and to her, they look exactly the same.
Tough call. They're so different.
Andy lets out a little giggle, and it's like she set off a grenade. Slowly, everyone turns to her.
Something funny?
No. It's just.
And Miranda says nothing. Andy twists in the wind.
It's just that both of those belts look the same to me. I'm still learning about this stuff, so.
And then silence is deafening. Everyone looks to see what Miranda will do.
This stuff. Okay, I understand. You think this has nothing to do with you. You go to your closet and select, say, that lumpy blue sweater because you're trying to tell the world that you take yourself too seriously to care about what's on your body. What you don't know is that your sweater is not blue. It's not even sky blue. It's cerulean. You also don't know that in 2002, De La Renta did a collection of cerulean gowns. Yves Saint Laurent showed a cerulean military jacket. Dolce did skirts with cerulean beads. And in our September issue, we did the definitive layout on the color. Cerulean quickly appeared in 8 other major collections, then the secondary and department store lines, and then trickled down to some lovely casual corner where you no doubt stumbled on it. That color is worth millions of dollars and many jobs. And here you are thinking you've made a choice that exempts you from the fashion industry. In truth, you are wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
She smiles at Andy, who quakes.
That's all.
Interior, Andy and Nate's apartment. On Andy at home, pacing. She changes out of her work clothes into sweats while Nate makes her what looks to be the tastiest grilled cheese in history.
You should have seen the look she gave me. I thought the flesh was going to melt off her face.
Nate laughs.
It's not funny. She could be the most horrendous person I've ever met. She's not happy unless everyone around her is panicked, nauseous, or suicidal. And all the clackers just worship her. They call them clackers. They're stilettos in the marble lobby. Clack, 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 clack.
She pulls an ancient Northwestern sweatshirt over her head. She starts eating grilled cheese, gesturing angrily with it as she talks.
And they all act like they're curing cancer or something. The amount of time and energy they spend on things that don't matter. Poring over these last-minute details, and for what? So tomorrow they can spend an extra $300,000 reshooting something that was probably fine to begin with to sell people things they don't need?
She puts down the sandwich.
God, I'm not even hungry anymore. Maybe that's why everyone there is so skinny.
Give me that. There's about $8 worth of Jarlsberg in there.
She takes the sandwich, takes a bite.
I just have to stick it out for 1 year. Then I can do what I came to New York to do. I can't let Miranda get to me. I won't.
Easy, killer.
And give me that sandwich.
Oh, no way. It's mine now.
She grabs it away from him. He chases her, trying to get it back. Interior, runway, bullpen. Miranda walks past Andy. Andy puts her best face on.
Morning, Miranda.
Whack! Miranda's coat lands on Andy's desk.
Yeah, Isaac.
We see Andy look through the computerized address book, find a number. Thwack! Another coat lands on Andy's desk. Interior, Miranda's office. In her office, Miranda pushes her plate of scrambled eggs across the desk.
These eggs are frigid.
Exterior, Diner Street. Cut to, Andy runs out of the diner, sprinting, holding Miranda's eggs. Interior, runway, bullpen. Thwack! Another coat.
Pick up the Polaroids from the swimsuit swimwear shoot.
Interior, studio. Andy opens the door onto in a narrow room filled with semi-naked women changing into bikinis. Someone points Andy towards the stylist. On the other side, she picks her way across, trying not to stare, and in an effort to avoid brushing against a body part, she veers into a rack of clothing, sending it clattering into the wall. Interior, runway, bullpen. Thwack! Another coat.
The brakes in my car are making a weird noise. Take it in.
Exterior, street. Cut to, Andy driving a Porsche up the street, brakes squealing, she's terrified. Interior, runway, bullpen. Thwack! Another coat.
Oh, God. We need that from the finale of Zach Posen Show.
Exterior, Bryant Park. We see Andy carrying the hat. A funny, over-the-top concoction, at least 30 inches tall, perhaps with a taxidermied bird in it or something such. People stare. Interior, runway bullpen. Thwack! Another coat.
The girls need new boogie boards for spring break.
Interior, dead. Andy walking down the street with 2 custom painted boogie boards under her arm. Andy's phone rings. She picks up.
They also need flip-flops.
Andy does a 180 with the boogie boards, almost decking some people. Interior, runway, bullpen. Thwack! Another coat.
Pick up my shoes from Manolo.
Exterior, street. Andy cut to. Andy carrying a huge Manolo bag filled with shoe boxes. Interior, runway, Miranda's office.
And we're all out of Get Patricia.
Exterior, street. Widen out to reveal she's not only carrying the luggage, she's also fighting Patricia, a St. Bernard on a leash. Interior, runway, bullpen. Thwack! Another coat. Thwack! Another coat. Thwack! 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 Interior, runway, bullpen. Andy's at her desk, exhausted. Head in hands.
Hit me, Isaac.
And this time, without consulting the Rolodex or even lifting her head much, Andy dials the number by heart.
I have Isaac.
Widen out to see Emily, a beat.
Wow, thank God it's Friday, huh?
Emily ignores her, busy assembling a stack of lookbooks to return to the art department.
My dad's coming in from Ohio this weekend. We're having dinner tonight. Then we're seeing Chicago.
Emily says nothing.
You doing anything fun this weekend?
Yes.
Emily walks away. Exterior, Andy and Nate's apartment. Evening. We see Andy's dad, Richard, distinguished, if a few pounds overweight, is ringing the doorbell to Andy's apartment. Andy calls down.
Dad, I'll be right down.
Interior, upscale restaurant. Andy and her dad are at an upscale, quiet restaurant. He hands her an envelope.
Here, I don't want you to get behind on your rent.
How did you? I'm gonna kill Mom. Thank you.
She tucks it in her purse. They smile at each other.
It's so good to see you. You want to start grilling me now, or should we wait until after dinner?
I thought I'd let you at least join the breadbasket first.
Oh, just go ahead.
We're just a little worried. We get emails from you at your job at 2 a.m. Your pay is terrible. You don't get to write anything.
Hey, not fair. I wrote those emails.
I'm trying to understand someone who was accepted to Stanford Law turns down to be a journalist, and now you're not even doing that.
Oh, please, not this again.
Why didn't you even bother applying to law school?
Because it's what you wanted. This is what I want.
This? Being a secretary?
I'm an executive assistant.
You hang coats. You go to Starbucks. You're a secretary, Andy.
You have to trust me. Being Miranda's assistant opens a lot of doors. Emily's going to Paris with her in a few months. She'll meet editors and writers from important magazines.
But Richard still looks dubious.
Dad, I swear, this is my break. This is my chance. This is my...
Just then the cell phone rings. Andy looks down at it.
Boss.
Richard looks at her.
I have to get it.
Andy picks up her cell phone. Interior, Miami, International Airport. Miranda's surrounded by crowds heading home for the weekend.
My flight is canceled. Some absurd weather problem.
She starts moving through the airport.
I have to get home tonight. The twins have a recital at school tomorrow morning.
Interior, upscale restaurant. Richard looks at Andy.
Absolutely, Miranda. Let me see what I can do.
She hangs up, looks at Richard.
I'm so sorry, Dad. I have to deal with this.
Exterior, street. Quick cuts of Andy on the cell phone as she and Richard walk through Times Square.
I need a jet from Miami to New York. A jet. Any kind of jet. Yes, tonight. Right now. From Miami to New York. As soon as possible. Please call me back as the situation changes. I'm trying, Miranda. No one is flying out because of the weather.
Throughout Andy's gestures to her dad, I'm sorry, this will just take a second. Interior, Miami, International Airport. Miranda looks out the window at the squall.
Please, it's just drizzling. Someone must be getting out. Call Donatello and get her jet. Call everyone with a jet. Armani.
But
Minardi.
And Miranda hangs up. Exterior, theater. A few minutes later, Andy stands there clutching her phone, thinking.
Andy, come on, let's go in.
I've done everything I could think of. I don't know what else to do.
Andy's phone rings again. Richard looks at her.
I'm sorry, Dad. Miranda, you don't understand. Even if I get you a plane, they won't let you take off tonight, and
Emily, stop making excuses and get me home.
She hangs up.
my God, she's gonna murder me.
Would it help if I talked to her?
Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Andy stands in front of Miranda's desk, cowed.
Girls' recital was wonderful. They played Rachmaninoff and everyone loved it, except for me because I was not there.
I'm so sorry, Miranda.
Miranda turns away from the window to look at Andy.
Do you know why I hired you?
Andy shakes her head. Miranda turns to face her.
I always hire the same girl, stylish, slender, worships the magazine, and often they turn out to be disappointing and stupid.
Andy blanches.
But with you, with your fancy resume, your big speech about your so-called work ethic, I thought you'd be different. I thought, go ahead, take a chance, hire the smart fat girl.
Andy's eyes widen. She's not even remotely fat, of course.
I had hope. I always have hope, but you're as disappointing as anyone.
I did everything I could think of.
That's all.
And she goes back to her work. Andy stands there a second, then leaves, and we see her eyes start to well. Interior, runway, bullpen. Andy comes out of the office, fighting back her tears. She immediately starts running down the hall.
Excuse me, where do you think you're...
Andy keeps running. Interior, runway, Nigel's office. Andy walks in, very upset. Nigel looks up surprised.
She hates me, Nigel. You're muted, hon. Jen.
Oh no, she was acting. You know what? And that's my problem because, well, guess what? It's not my problem.
I need your help. I don't know what to do. It's like I'm completely beneath her contempt.
So quit.
She looks at him. What?
We can replace you in 5 minutes with someone who actually really wants this job.
That's not fair. I'm lucky to be working for Miranda. I didn't get that at first, but I do now. I want to be here. It just seems like no matter how hard I try, I don't do anything right.
Andy, please be serious. You're not trying. You're whining.
She looks shocked.
You want me to say, oh, poor you. Miranda's picking on you. Oh, she's just doing her job. Wake up, Six. She's just doing her job, and I read that already. You are working at the place that first published some of the major artists of the century, Halston, De La Renta, Lagerfeld. And they made what is cooler than art, what is greater than art, because you live your life in it. I mean, not you, but some people. This is not just a magazine. It is a shining beacon of hope for, I don't know, say a young boy growing up in Rhode Island with 6 brothers pretending to go to soccer practice when he was actually at sewing class and reading Runway at night under the covers with a flashlight.
He picks up a steam as he talks.
You have no idea how many legends have walked these halls. And what's worse, you don't care. Because this is a stepping stone for you. This place that people would die to work for. And you want to know why she doesn't give you a kiss on the forehead and put a gold star on your homework?
Okay, fine.
He looks at her.
You're right. I'm screwing this up. And I know this could be a big break for me. I'm gonna try harder, I promise. But there's one thing I can't do by myself.
She looks at him. He realizes what she's asking.
Oh.
Do
No.
it with the other girls.
No way. The other girls are different. They actually really want it.
Please, Nigel, don't make me beg.
He looks at her, thinking. Interior runway closet. Nigel swings open the door to a large room piled high with shoes, bags, clothes, fur, jewelry, and he follows, looking around at everything.
You're gonna shame me about this? Oh, well, I don't know what you expect me to do. These are all sample sizes. They are 2s and 4s.
He thinks, hands her an item.
Poncho?
You're gonna take what I give you and you're gonna like it.
He looks around, assessing everything with a practiced eye. Then he starts flinging clothing at Andy.
Versace peasant skirt. So sorry, where the fuck did that shoe go? We can pull it up, belt it, make it a dress, Miu Miu, boyfriend cardigan realness, Alberta Ferreri dress, smocked, very forgiving. And let's find you some Chanel. You are in desperate need of Chanel.
As she catches the clothing.
Don't just stand there. We have to get you to the beauty department too, and God knows how long that's going to take.
Interior, runway, bullpen. Emily is talking to Serena. Emily.
I have no idea why Miranda hired her.
Me neither. The other day we were in the beauty department and she held up the Shoe Umira eyelash curler and said, "What is this?"
They laugh at the total absurdity of this.
I knew from the moment that I saw her that she was a complete and utter.
And suddenly, Andy appears in her gorgeous clothes, her makeup impeccable, hair soft, loose, and pretty. She looks grown up, sexy, and above all, sophisticated.
Disaster.
Andy sits down at her desk, pretends she didn't hear her. Emily's still staring. Andy's phone rings.
Miranda Priestley's office. She's not in. I'll leave word.
She hangs up. Emily's still gaping.
Can I help you, love?
Exterior, Nate's restaurant. Andy waits for Nate outside his restaurant in the alley. He walks out, bantering with a couple of other cooks. He starts to walk away, going right past Andy, stops, walks back a few steps. He looks her up and down, stunned.
What do you think?
I think we better get out of here before my girlfriend sees me with you.
She smiles, grabs his hand, and walks him down the alley to where her town car is waiting.
Want a lift, stranger?
Music up. Exterior, Andy and Nate's apartment. We see Andy exit her apartment wearing a fabulous outfit. She walks behind a newsstand, emerging from the other side in a completely different fabulous outfit. Exterior, subway. She goes into the subway, then comes out of the subway in yet another great outfit. Exterior, Starbucks. She enters Starbucks, emerges wearing another outfit, heads down the street and walks behind a bus, emerging from the other side in one more fantastic outfit. Exterior, Elias Clark. Each outfit over the course of the montage improves on the one before, until we see Andy walking in the plaza of Elias Clark, indistinguishable and now from all the other clackers. Interior, runway, reception. Andy walks through the reception area, walks behind the wall, and continues through the hallway in another fabulous outfit. Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Andy enters, sets a glass of Pellegrino down on the table. Just then, Miranda enters on the cell phone.
The gowns are fabulous, Ralph. We're using the burgundy for the cover. Try and the lemon chiffon for the goddess store.
And just then, she looks up and sees Andy, the transformed Andy. And her reaction of approval is tiny, but it's there. Of course, she keeps talking like she didn't notice a thing. Interior, bar. Andy joins her friends and Nate. She plops an expensive fancy Bang & Olufsen phone on the table.
Bang & Olufsen. Charlie Rose sent it to Miranda for her birthday. I looked it up online. $750. She doesn't want it, so Emily told me to keep it. Oprah sent a present. So did Jessica Simpson and Nelson Mandela.
All for a woman who doesn't need anything. Perfect.
She reaches into her bag, hands out perfume, cosmetics, etc.
Here, bunch of Kiehl's, some Mason Pearson hairbrushes.
Damn it! I love your job. Doug picks up one of the perfume bottles and is about to spray it on his hand when Andy stops him.
It's called Pink for women.
Men can be pink. I have a pink side.
Please, we're eating.
Andy hands Lily a blue purse. Lily gasps.
Where did you get this? This is the new Marc Jacobs, sold out everywhere. It's $1,900. I can't take this.
But Lily's already happily transferring her things from her old purse into the new one.
Sure you can.
Why do women need so many bags? You get one, it holds all your junk. Aren't you done?
Fashion is not about utility, Nate. An accessory is merely a piece of iconography used to express individual identity.
And it's pretty.
That too.
The thing is, it turns out there's a lot more to runway than fancy purses. You know who's coming into the office Friday? John Updike.
Why? Doesn't he need a sweater?
They all laugh, and he plucks a current issue of Runway out of her purse.
Look, there's a piece of Jay McInerney, an essay by Joan Didion, an interview with Christine Amanpour. Oh,
Look who's drinking the Kool-Aid.
She gives him a look. Just then, Andy's cell phone rings. Miranda. Nate grabs it.
give me the phone.
He checks the name on the phone.
Oh, look, the Dragon Lady, of course.
Give me the phone.
Andy grabs for the phone. Nate tosses it to Lily.
I'll talk to her. Tell her she needs to get her own scrambled eggs.
He tosses it to Doug, and Andy practically tackles him, grabs the phone away.
Come on, guys, give me the phone.
They are all stunned by her vehemence, including Andy.
Hello, Miranda. Fine, no problem. I'm leaving right now. You guys don't need to be such assholes.
She exits, and all her friends exchange a look. Exterior, James Holt's loft. Andy pulls up in front of a loft building in Tribeca. Interior, James Holt's loft. Andy rings the buzzer, no answer, but she can hear voices behind the door. She pushes it, and it opens. Inside is a loft with a party going on. Andy looks around. It's one of those New York parties you think you'll never be invited to. She walks over to one of the super hot women.
I'm looking for James Holt.
She points to a handsome man by the window. James Holt, one of the top designers, 40s, muscular, tan, impeccable. And he walks over to him.
Hi, I'm Andy. I'm picking up for Miranda Priestley.
You must be the new Emily. Let me see.
He checks her out, looks at her handbag.
Open woven leather, pieced by hand, and finished with a city trim. Who made this fantastic thing?
You did.
Duh.
He hands her a folio with a handle.
It's a sketch of Miranda's dress for the benefit, the centerpiece of my spring collection. Top secret stuff.
And he takes the folio.
I'll guard it with my life.
Come on, you work for Miranda. You must be in desperate need of hard liquor.
He walks her to the bar. She tries not to stare at the party guests. Is that Lenny Kravitz? Is that Julian Schnabel?
She'll have the punch. It's deadly. Have fun.
And he walks away, and he clutches a glass of punch.
He's right. I had the punch at James's last party and woke up in Hoboken wearing nothing but boxers and a cowboy hat.
She looks over. She sees a great-looking, sophisticated man in his 30s who has an air of mischief. Christian Thompson.
Hi. I have to go.
But you want to stay? You've never been to a party like this.
God, I love it when total strangers tell me how I feel.
That's my way. Christian Thompson.
Christian Thompson? You're kidding. You write for every magazine I love. I actually reviewed your collection of essays for my college paper.
Did you mention my good looks and killer charm?
No, but I did point out some factual errors in a penchant for confessional semi-fiction that borders on self-indulgent.
You and the Times. And what do you do?
Well, I want to work somewhere like the New Yorker or Vanity Fair. I'm also a writer, but
Is that right? I should read your stuff. Send it over.
thank you. That would be great. Anyway, for now, I'm Miranda Priestley's assistant.
And his expression immediately changes.
You're kidding. Oh, that's too bad. You'll never survive, Miranda.
Excuse me?
You're smart. You're nice. You have a point of view. You can't do that job.
And he hands him her glass of punch.
I have to go.
She starts to leave.
Let me guess. You have a boyfriend waiting. From not high school, college? Nice looking guy, devoted, about to ask you to move in with him. You're not sure.
She stares at him, appalled, and intrigued.
You are not a nice person.
Nice to meet you, Miranda girl.
He walks away. Steam practically pours out of her ears.
For your information, he's really handsome, and we already live together.
This doesn't cause him to turn around, though it does cause a few other people to stare. Andy walks away, embarrassed. Exterior, Andy and Nate's apartment. Andy's walking back towards her in Nate's apartment. Holding the folio, she crosses paths with Nate.
You got the nuclear briefcase from the undisclosed location. I'm proud of you.
Where are you going?
Doug and some of his banker buddies are playing Texas Hold'em at his apartment. Gonna go get me some of that Wall Street cash.
But I came back so we could hang out.
Man, I'm sorry you didn't make that crystal clear when you stormed off after calling me an asshole.
Okay, look, I'm sorry about that.
He gives her a kiss.
I'll see you later, okay?
Just then, Nate's cell phone rings. Nate picks up.
Hello? Sure, Doug. I'll get on it ASAP. A six-pack? No problem. Budweiser or Michelob? Chilled? Of course.
Andy looks at him, hand on hip as he walks away. Very funny. Interior, runway, Miranda's office, later day. We see Miranda studying the sketches James sent over, spread out in the folio.
Emily,
And he walks into Miranda's office.
call James Holt's office. Tell them I want to move the preview to today at 12:30 and tell everyone else be ready to leave in half an hour.
Interior, runway, hallway. Nigel looks surprised.
They're not expecting us until Tuesday. Did she say why?
Yes, she explained every detail of her decision making. Then we brushed each other's hair and gabbed about American Idol.
I see your point.
Exterior, street. Miranda and Andy ride along in heavy traffic. Miranda's tapping her foot, impatient.
It's a preview anyway.
Miranda insists on seeing all the designers' collections before they show them.
And she tells them what she thinks.
In her way. There's a scale. 1 nod. Good. 2 nods. Well, more than 1 nod. Very good. There's only 1 actual smile on record. Tom Ford, 2001. If she doesn't like it, she shakes her head.
Interior, town car. Finally, she leans forward to Henry, the driver.
Just let us out here.
She gets out. Andy scrambles to get her stuff and follow. Interior, runway. Nigel shakes his head.
And then there's the pursing of the lips.
What does that mean?
Catastrophe.
Interior, James Holt's loft. Miranda walks in the elevator. Andy hesitates, unsure if she's permitted to be in the elevator with her. Okay, fine. Interior, James Holt's elevator. Beat. Miranda and Andy ride up together.
Last time I was here, James was having this cool party, and this is why you don't like people riding up in the elevator with you.
Miranda smiles, a tight little smile. Precisely. Exterior, James Holt's loft. Another town car pulls up and Nigel, Lucia, Jocelyn, and some of the other runway editors and assistants pile out. Interior, James Holt's loft. Miranda walks in. James is standing there with his staff and his public relations team. James is clearly buzzing.
Miranda, great to see you.
Miranda diligently kisses both of his cheeks.
You got the sketches for your dress?
Yes, I did.
Beat. And she conspicuously does not say she liked them.
Thank you.
And her tone is very remote. And now we can see James really start to quake. Miranda arranges herself on the mild daybed, legs folded, ramrod straight. The other runway editors, Nigel, Jocelyn, and Lucia, and their assistants stand behind Miranda. James and his people stand off to the side as a few fit models begin walking out in various outfits.
This season, I started to think about the intersection of East and West.
No one in the room watches anything except Miranda's reaction. As James speaks, we dissolve from outfit to outfit. James is trying desperately to impress Miranda. He practically tap dancing.
I didn't want to do, say, a blonde in a kimono. It's more about capturing the Eastern sensibility in the Western woman, kind of Uma Thurman in Kill Bill in a kick-ass dress with an obi belt. The modern as geisha meets rock star with little desperate housewives thrown in.
Suddenly, there's a glimpse of movement from Miranda. Could it be a nod? Everyone holds their breath. No, she's just straightening her glasses.
And this, of course, is the dress we're making for you.
An overly busy red dress with too many fashion ideas being attempted at one time.
A lush Asian fabric tailored, but with a bit of movement to work against the modernism.
And suddenly, there it is. The kiss of death. The dreaded pursing of the lips.
Just go.
Exterior, street. The runway team files out. Miranda first, Andy and Nigel walk together.
She pursed her lips, and because of that, he's gonna change his entire collection?
You still don't get it, do you? Her opinion is the only one that matters.
Miranda, about to get into the town car, turns to Andy.
Make sure you confirm my dinner with Galliano.
Galliano at Pastilles? Done.
And I need to see the lookbook for the November denim shoot.
It's in the car.
Fine.
Miranda turns to leave. Pauses.
Oh, and you'll be bringing the book to my home tonight. Emily will give you the key, Andre.
Interior, runway. Clothes on. A key, as Emily hands it to Andy.
Guard this with your life.
Of course. If I can deliver the book, that means I must have done something right. She doesn't think I'm a psycho. Oh, and she actually called me Andrea instead of Emily. Isn't that great?
Yeah, Whoopi. Okay, now, it's very important that you do exactly what I'm about to tell you.
Interior, runway, bullpen. We hear Emily's voiceover as we see things happening.
The book is assembled by 10 or 10:30, so you must wait around until then.
We see Andy waiting. The area around Miranda's office is totally quiet. Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Andy drifts in and looks at Miranda's office, the pictures of her with everyone from Desmond Tutu to Paris Hilton. Then Andy walks over to Miranda's pristine white couch, sits on it. Hell, why not? Lies down on it, gingerly. Then...
Book's ready!
And Andy startles and falls completely off the couch. Interior, runway, Miranda's office. An editorial assistant brings Andy the book. It's heavy.
You'll be delivering Miranda's dry cleaning along with the book.
We see Andy removing the dry cleaning from the closet, about a dozen garments on hangers. Exterior, street, interior, town car. Andy whisks across town. It's late. The streets are quiet.
The driver will take you to Miranda's townhouse.
Exterior, street. Andy unloads the car and walks up the flight of stairs in front of the townhouse, carrying the book and dry cleaning. She takes out a key.
Let yourself in.
Andy takes a deep breath and turns the lock. Interior, foyer. Andy steps into a marble-floored foyer with a large staircase looming right in front of her. Interior, runway, bullpen. On Emily, intense.
You do not talk to anyone. Do not look at anyone. That is the utmost importance. You must be invisible. Do you understand?
Interior, Miranda's foyer. Andy steps inside, her footsteps echoing through the foyer.
Open the door, walk across the foyer, then hang the dry cleaning in the closet across from the staircase.
Andy looks. There are two identical doors on each side of the staircase. Damn it.
And leave the book on the table with the flowers.
Andy looks. There are 1, 2, 3 tables, all in different areas of the house. She looks very confused.
Shit.
Suddenly, she hears a noise. She looks up and sees 2 girls of about 12, Cassidy and Caroline, peering down the staircase.
It's that door on the left.
Andy hangs the dry cleaning. The girls call down.
You can give us the book. We'll give it to her.
Andy shakes her head. No.
It's okay. Come on up.
But I can't. Shh.
It's okay.
And Andy, unsure what to do, starts to walk up the stairs. She gets up halfway up when she hears voices. Miranda and her husband, Stephen, are in the dining room, a sliver of which is visible from the foyer.
What did you want me to do? Walk out in the middle of a photo shoot?
Andy freezes. I rushed out of an investment committee meeting early. Then I sat there waiting for you for almost an hour.
We were in a loft near the seaport. My phone didn't work. I told you.
And I knew what everyone in the restaurant was thinking. There he is, waiting for her again. And as he says this, he stops, curious. There on the stairs, head peeking into the second floor, is Andy, frozen, with the twins smiling at her. And before Andy can stop herself, her eyes float over to Stevens. Eye contact. Her heart does a flip, and her eyes dart over to Miranda, and they make eye contact as well. And Miranda gives Andy a look of utter coldness, disgust, and judgment, and freezes. Exterior, street. Andy closes the door to the townhouse, heart pounding. Interior, Andy and Nate's apartment. Andy crawls into bed next to Nate, heart racing, and looks up at the ceiling, freaking out. Interior, runway, bullpen. Andy walks in, already bracing herself, and runs into Emily, emerging from Miranda's office, very upset.
Okay, before you start freaking out, it wasn't such a big deal. Twin said hello, I said hello back, then I went upstairs to give the book to Miranda.
You went upstairs? Oh my God, why didn't you just climb into bed with her and ask her for a bedtime story?
You're right, I made a mistake.
Don't you understand? If you get fired, that might jeopardize Paris for me. And if that happens, I will search every blimpies in the tri-state area until I find you and kill you.
Wait a second, she's gonna fire me?
I don't know. She's not happy.
And they hear Miranda's voice ringing out from the office.
Andrea.
Andy and Emily exchange a look. Oh boy. Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Andy walks in, apprehensive.
Miranda, about last night.
Harry Potter book for the twins.
Of course, I'll run down to Barnes & Noble right now.
Did you fall down and smack your little head on the pavement?
Not that I can recall.
We have all the published Harry Potter books. The girls want they want to know what happens next.
Andy stands there a moment, fully aware of the impossibility of what Miranda's just asked.
So you want the unpublished manuscript?
Miranda gives her a look. Is there a problem?
We know everyone in publishing. Shouldn't be a problem. You can do anything, right?
Interior, runway, bullpen. Andy paces panicky. Emily watches her.
She doesn't get it. There's no way I can get that book. I don't care who I call.
Just then, Miranda walks out. Andy springs up to get her coat.
My girls are leaving on the train to their grandmother's at 3. They'll need the book by then.
Of course.
I'd like my steak in 15 minutes.
No problem.
Miranda exits.
Great. I have to get the impossible manuscript in 4 hours, and Smith and Walensky's doesn't open until 11:30. How am I supposed to get the steak? She's gonna fire me, isn't she? She's just prolonging the kill, like an evil cat with a tiny, unfashionable mouse.
Oh, look, you're getting paranoid. Yay, it's not just me. Listen, don't freak out. There could be a silver lining here.
Andy looks at her. Really?
When Miranda gives someone an impossible task, it generally means one of two things. One, she thinks she can actually pull it off.
Or,
you know, that thing you were saying about the cat.
Exterior, street. We see Andy racing down the street. Exterior, Smith and Wolanski. Andy flies into frame on the phone.
it's for Miranda Priestley. It's very important. Yes, I know it's impossible to get.
She raps on the door of the closed restaurant. The manager recognizes her, lets her in. Interior, Smith and Wolanski. From the bar, Andy watches the steak sizzle. Pacing nervously, Andy's cell phone rings. She grabs it.
Anything? Can you try again? I would really appreciate any leads at all. Thanks. No pressure. If I don't have it by 3, I'm fired.
What an amazing job working for someone like Miss Priestley.
Yeah, it's a real party.
Andy walks towards the door, and suddenly something catches Andy's eye. We see what Andy's looking at. An ad on the side of the bus, stop advertising the latest issue of the New Yorker. Andy sees a familiar name, Christian Thompson. Christian answers his cell phone.
You probably don't remember me. We met at James Holt's party, and I work for Miranda Priestley, and
Of course, I remember you, Miranda girl. You shaking off that college boyfriend yet?
Exterior, street, Andy on the cell phone.
listen, I desperately need a favor, and I don't know many people in the book world.
On Christian, getting out of a taxi.
The Harry Potter manuscript? You've got to be kidding.
I'm sorry to ask you, I'm desperate.
Just tell her it can't be done. You'll have to come up with a plan B.
On Andy.
We're talking about Miranda Priestley. There is no plan B, only plan A.
Interior, runway, hallway. Andy runs down the hall with Miranda's food, passing Emily.
Is she back? Am I fired?
You know, I rarely say this to people who aren't me, but You need to calm down.
Andy ignores her, racing around getting the dishes and silverware for Miranda's steak. Interior, runway, Miranda's office. We see the steak prettily arranged on Miranda's china. Andy sets up the salt and pepper. Miranda walks in. When Miranda sees the steak, she freezes.
What is this doing here? I ordered it ages ago.
Andy looks confused. Ages?
Luckily, before I starved to death, Irv invited me to lunch. Get rid of that. I'll be back at 3. Please have my Starbucks order waiting.
And before she exits.
And if you don't have the Harry Potter book by then, don't come back.
Interior, runway, kitchen. Andy carries a tray with all the food on it into the kitchen. A beat. She looks down at the tray and suppresses an urge to throw the whole thing at the wall. She positions the tray over the garbage and tilts it, letting everything, steak, china, silverware, fall into the can. Interior, Starbucks. Andy's getting Miranda's coffee.
Harry Potter, the manuscript. It's for Miranda Priestley. I need it today. Can you make it extra hot, like center of the sun hot?
The barista gives her a look.
Sorry, my boss is particular. Are you sure? You're my last shot. All right, well, thanks for trying.
She hangs up. The barista hands her the coffee.
Sounds like a great job.
Actually, it is. 1 million girls would kill for it.
And she starts to laugh. The girl stares at her. Exterior, Starbucks. Andy walks out of the Starbucks with the order on the tray. Andy stands there a moment. People bustle around her as she finds herself at a literal crossroads. She looks up at the building. Suddenly, she stops a passerby who looks at her, curious. Yeah, lady.
Want a mocha?
And Andy starts passing Starbucks to people on the street. Interior, Nate's restaurant, kitchen. Nate on the phone, intercut with him and Andy on the street.
Wait, are you sure?
I failed. She's gonna fire me anyway. Might as well beat her to the punch.
Wow, good for you. Congratulations, Andy. You're free.
Call you later.
Andy hangs up and immediately her phone rings again. She looks down, assuming it's Nate.
Hello?
I'm brilliant. Really, monument should be erected in my honor.
We intercut. Exterior street. Between Andy and Christian also walking down the street.
You didn't.
Oh, yes. A friend of a friend does the cover art. She has the manuscript.
No. That would mean I actually did something right? But see, this thing is, I was about to...
And we see Andy. She looks up at the Elias Clark building, teetering on a precipice.
You want this? You better hurry. Meet me at the St. Regis.
Exterior, street. Establishing St. Regis. Andy runs down the street to the St. Regis. Is that me?
Welcome to the St. Regis. Is there anything I can assist you with?
Yes, I'm meeting someone.
The butler opens the door for Andy.
Right this way.
He escorts her into the St. Regis. Interior, King Colbar. Christian is having drinks. Andy runs in. He hands her a manuscript.
You have 1 hour.
Interior, Staples. Andy is Xeroxing the manuscript and talking on the phone.
I'm begging you. You just have to stall her for 10 minutes.
Exterior, street, interior, town car. We see Henry driving Miranda. He hangs up the cell phone, then he turns down a side street. Miranda catches his eye in the mirror. What the hell? Too much. Is that me?
Go for it.
Too much traffic on 5th. UN's in session. Miranda makes an annoyed face. Interior, runway, hallway. The tray with Miranda Starbucks on it. We follow it down the hall and see it being set on Miranda's desk. And beside it lands, boom, an envelope. Widen out to see interior, runway, Miranda's office. Miranda looking at the envelope, and then we see Andy. She stands there, quiet, calm. And if Miranda is amazed by what Andy did, she doesn't show it. She opens the envelope, looks in.
Uncopy? What are my twins supposed to do with that? Share?
Actually, I made 2 copies and had them color copied, reset, and bound so they wouldn't look like manuscripts.
She smiles. Miranda nods, but still won't concede the point.
And where exactly are those fabulous copies? I don't see them anywhere.
Interior, train. The Metro North from New York City to Bedford. In the front row, we see 2 girls in matching outfits with 2 matching Harry Potter manuscripts. The twins, with their nanny beside them. Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Andy smiles at Miranda, her faith in herself restored.
Anything else I can do for you?
Exterior, Elias Clark. Andy walks out. The clackers stream in and out of the building, and Andy raises her arms and does a victory dance, now graceful in her stilettos. People stare. Doesn't bother her. Interior, Andy and Nate's apartment. Andy's making a small diorama of the planetary system. Nate walks in. He's carrying a bag of groceries.
I went over to Dean and DeLuca. Man, they charged like $5 a strawberry, but I figured you quit. We should celebrate.
Listen, Nate.
And he sees what she's doing. Realizes.
So you quit, but you're still doing the twin science project. Big of you.
After I called you, I realized it doesn't make sense to throw away all these months of hard work. I just had a moment of weakness, it's all.
Either that or your job sucks and your boss is a wacko.
She looks at him.
Okay, whatever. It's your job.
That's all it is, Nate. Just a job.
No, it's an important magazine. That's what you said, right?
He sees the latest issue of Runway, picks it up.
Let's see. How to buy a custom-made $600 bra. That's important. A list of the 10 best wrinkle creams under $500. That's important.
I get the point, Nate.
He continues leaving through.
The new Botox, the new Pico, the new Gatad. What the hell is...
It's a ski resort in Switzerland.
See? I now live with someone who knows that. Thank you, Miranda Priestley.
Nate, it's not like I run the magazine. I just work there, remember?
He doesn't say anything. He keeps putting away groceries. She walks over to him.
I'm the same person I was. I still want the same things.
But he doesn't look too convinced.
I promise. Same Andy, better clothes.
That's the thing. I liked your old clothes.
Well, what about my new shoes? These are pretty nice.
He doesn't take the bait.
And this skirt? What about this?
She unbuttons her shirt, revealing a bra that costs more than every item of clothing Nate owns combined. Beat.
I like that.
He grabs her and kisses her. Interior, conference room. The senior staff members are gathered around a table. Nigel, Jocelyn, Lucia, and a few others, including Paul, the art director of the magazine.
Closen's doing some very sculptural suits, so Testino wants to shoot them at the Noguchi Garden at the Chase Building.
Perfect. What about the accessories pages for April?
One thought was enamel. Bangles, pendants, earrings.
We did that 2 years ago. What else?
Well, they're showing a lot of florals for spring, and so...
Florals for spring. Groundbreaking.
But we thought about shooting them in an industrial space. She looks at him. Death ray. He soldiers on. We thought the contrast between the femininity of the florals, and she still is just staring. He continues falling forward, and the more raw, rough-hewn nature of the backdrop would create a tension which...
No.
Just then, Emily walks in with a note from Miranda. Before she can get all the way across the room, Emily dissolves into hacking and coughs. Miranda gives her a look, then turns back to her staff.
Anyone have anything I can actually use?
Interior, runway, bullpen. Andy's at her desk. Emily walks back, blowing her nose, rubbing her eyes. Basically, a NyQuil lad.
Are you okay?
Tonight's the benefit. I'm looking forward to it for months. I refuse to be sick, and I'm wearing Valentino. Everyone's going to be leaving to get dressed soon. So, after you drop Miranda's Finny bag at the rebreeders, you can just go home.
Great, thanks. That's perfect. Because I need to go to Magnolia Bakery before they close.
Andy grabs her purse, and from under her desk, she retrieves a wrapped present.
Nate's birthday, and we're having a little party for him.
Emily
I'm
looks
hearing
at her.
this, and I want to hear this.
Have a fun night.
Interior, lobby. Andy, feeling liberated, walks out, carrying the present and shopping bag with Miranda's bag in it, and that's when her cell phone rings. Interior, runway, Miranda's office. Andy and Emily walking together, looking confused.
I wanted to make sure before the benefit, that you are both fully prepped and on the guest list.
Andy and Emily exchange a look.
I thought only the first assistant went to the benefit.
Only when the first assistant hasn't decided to become disgustingly ill. You'll come and help Emily.
On Emily and Andy's surprised face. Interior, runway, bullpen. They walk out. Emily is clearly peeved.
I don't see why she needs both of us.
8 seconds.
Don't look at me. This is the last thing I want to do.
Emily dumps something on Andy's lap. A book of what looks like mugshots.
These are all the guests. Miranda invites everyone. We have to make sure they all think she knows exactly who they are. I've been studying for weeks.
I need to learn all these people by tonight.
Don't be silly.
She pulls out another big book of headshots.
You have to learn these too.
Interior, closet. Nigel's looking for a gown for Andy. Andy's on the cell phone.
Lily, just start without me. I'll be there as soon as I can.
Interior, gallery. We see Lily at the gallery where she works.
Okay, but hurry.
Interior, closet. Andy on the phone.
I will, I promise. Believe me, this is the last thing I want to do.
Just then, Nigel holds up a dress.
Oh, I love that. I'll call you the second I'm leaving.
She hangs up.
Will that fit me?
Of course, a few extra yards of fabric and a staple gun, and we're in business, baby.
Interior runway studio. We see Andy from behind as the makeup artist applies the finishing touches. He studies her.
Remember, there are 2 keys to wearing an evening gown. One is to maintaining regal bearing, and the second is...
He mimes adjusting one boobs in a strapless dress.
Make sure the girl's face forward, baby.
The makeup artist steps away and Nigel and Andy both study her in the mirror.
Not bad. How do you feel?
Exterior, street. Interior, town car. We see a limousine gliding through the streets.
Let's see, my feet are killing me. Everything pinches.
Exterior, New York Public Library. All lit for a gala charity benefit. A red carpet lined with notables leads up the steps.
My breasts are squeezed into a ball, and this hairpiece is like having a boulder pinned to my head.
And suddenly the door to the town car opens and Andy steps out onto the red carpet. And she looks unbelievable, gorgeous, perfect.
Never felt better.
Andy walks up the red carpet where she catches sight of Nigel talking to reporters on the red carpet.
This benefit is the social event of the season. It represents what runway is about: grace, style, excellence,
As he says
and
elegant,
eleganza.
he catches sight of Andy, smiles, and does a smaller version of the adjusting the girls gesture. Andy smiles at him and walks on. Just then, Emily spots Andy.
Oh my God, Andy, you look chic.
But Andy is busy staring at Emily in her strapless dress.
And you look so thin.
Do I? Oh, it's for Paris. I'm on a new diet. I don't eat anything, and then when I feel like I'm about to faint, I eat a cube of cheese.
Definitely working.
I know. I'm just one stomach flu away from my goal weight.
That's great.
Emily smiles proudly, then dissolves into another round of bone-rattling cough.
Ready?
Interior, library. Andy and Emily enter. It's beautiful. Everything inside is white. White tulips, bone white china, white candles. All the guests are in black or white. Emily looks around.
We need to make sure we're there the second she walks in.
I was wondering how long you think we'll have to stay, because I was hoping to...
Oh, there she is.
Just then, Miranda walks in. She's wearing the awkward dress from Jane's sketches, made over to perfection. Emily and Andy rush over to Miranda. Quick cuts at the ball. Andy and Emily stand at Miranda's side as she fields greetings. Emily whispers to Miranda.
John Folger, new artistic director, circled in the square.
John, good to see you.
She greets them. Just then, we see a distinguished man in an impeccable European suit. Massimo.
Massimo Cortellino, chairman
She knows
of...
him.
Massimo, you made it. I was worried you'd be too busy with your new factory in Milano.
I would never miss a chance to see you, Miranda, darling.
A distinguished couple approaches, walk towards Miranda, Andy, and Emily. Miranda holds her smile, waiting for information.
Emily?
Emily racks her brain, which goes blank. She starts to panic.
Wait, I know it's
Seeing Emily struggle, Andy leans into Miranda.
Ambassador Franklin. And that's the woman he left his wife for, Rebecca. The woman he's leaving her for is the man walking down the stairs in Valentino.
Miranda greets the couple.
Ambassador, Rebecca.
Emily whispers to Andy.
Thank you.
Just then, Andy sees a very fashionable woman with a more avant-garde look than Miranda headed for them, and she's being escorted by none other than Irv. Emily whispers to Andy.
That's Jacqueline Follier, right? From French Runway?
Yes. Oh my God, Miranda hates her. She was supposed to arrive after Miranda left.
As she says this, we see Miranda greeting Jacqueline warmly.
Ah, bonsoir, chérie. Te robes es rudamente choté.
I like your dress too. Very American, sportive.
Thank you for coming to our little get-together tonight.
Of course, I plan my whole year around it.
And we're all so grateful.
After all, we're family, no?
She smiles at Irv, who smiles right back. Miranda smiles too, but looks like she's rather throw darts at Jacqueline. Andy quickly steps forward.
Alors, Jacqueline, dites-moi, avez-vous rencontré Brad Pitt?
Ah no, pas encore.
And Andy pulls Jacqueline across the room. Later, the party is in full swing. Emily and Andy are with Miranda, who is talking to a group of luminaires, including Irv. Emily turns to Andy and whispers,
You can go. I've got it from here.
Are you sure?
Go have fun.
and for the first time, they seem like friends.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
But just as Andy's about to leave, Stephen appears, quite drunk, and joins Miranda's group.
Darling, there you are.
It's a banner evening. 3 people have failed to recognize me. 1 person called me Mr. Priestley, and now the damn bartender refuses to serve me. Everyone looks uncomfortable. Stephen turns to Irv. Why don't you get me a drink? He's gotta listen to you, right, little guy? Everyone freezes. Miranda forces a laugh, an awful beat, and then he leaps in, quickly turns to Irv, distracting him.
I'm sorry to bother you, but I've been dying to ask you. Is it true that John Cheever used to ghostwrite the editor's page of Manhattan Magazine in the 50s?
And while she chats with him, Miranda puts her arm around her husband and leads him gently away.
Come on, darling, let's get something to eat. I'm starved, aren't you?
And as she walks away, Miranda turns, and Miranda mouths the word, thank you, to Andy. Andy's eyes go wide in disbelief. Then she smiles. Yes. Exterior, New York Public Library. Andy trots down the steps, starting to take down her hair as she races to the car. Suddenly, she looks up and sees Christian walking up the steps, looking better than anyone ever should in a tuxedo. He smiles and clutches his heart like he's been shot by Cupid.
Look at you. You're a vision. Thank God I saved your job.
Hey, I figured out a few things on my own, too. Turns out I'm not as nice as you thought.
God, I hope not.
He openly admires her in a way that makes it clear he's imagining her with her dress off.
If you didn't have that stupid boyfriend, I'd have to whisk you away right here and now.
Do you really say things like that to people?
Evidently.
I have to go.
Are you sure? My editor from Vanity Fair isn't there. I was going to introduce you to him. You sent me your stuff, remember? I have to be honest, I only read a couple. It was quite a big packet. But they aren't half bad. You're pretty talented, Andy. You should meet you. You should meet you. Come on in. Just one drink.
Maybe I could. No. I can't. I just can't.
Andy turns and races towards her town car.
Say hello to the boyfriend for me.
Andy looks at her watch as she runs away, winces. She's so late. Exterior, street, interior, town car. Andy looks over at Roy.
Can you go any faster?
Interior, restaurant. Doug and Lily are sitting at a table with a few other friends. Andy walks in still in her evening wear and looks at them and understands right away Nate is long gone. Interior, apartment. Andy walks in holding a cupcake with a little candle on it. Nate's watching ESPN. He barely looks up.
Happy birthday.
Nate turns off the TV, looks at her.
Nate, I'm so sorry. I was trying to leave, but there was a lot going on and I didn't have a choice and...
Don't worry about it. I'm going to bed.
He walks past her.
Can we at least talk about this?
He starts to leave, turns, look at her,
You look really pretty.
and he walks into the bedroom. Andy stands there, feeling terrible. Interior, apartment. Very early, Andy's getting dressed. By now, every bit as expert as the girls in the beginning of the movie. She pauses a moment, watching Nate sleep. Then she exits. Andy on the phone.
I don't understand what's so difficult about scheduling a preview. If you want Miranda to give you any editorial, we'll need to see the clothing at least 3 weeks before the show. Yes, please, see what you can do.
She hangs up. Emily looks over at her, raises an eyebrow.
Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
The phone rings.
Miranda Priestley's office. Thanks. I gotta go pick up the Polaroids from the shoot.
Exterior, zoo. Outside of the zoo, we see models wearing gorgeous evening gowns, their faces partly obscured by beautifully detailed masks depicting different animals. We see Nigel, Jocelyn, and a few clackers.
No, no, no. I think Giselle should be the lizard and Vivian the donkey.
The lizard's better with the Dolce. Sometimes I can't believe that I talk about this crap all day.
Two of the clackers are checking out the models.
God, we should have a pig mask for Rhonda.
I know, she's huge.
We see the models they're talking about, perfectly skinny, of course. Just then, Andy walks over. The clackers hand Andy a stack of Polaroids, and he turns to go, but Nigel stops her.
Get these to Miranda right away. Tell her I switched in the DR for the Rochas.
Great, no problem.
Hey, adjust the attitude. Don't make me feed you to one of the models.
Sorry, busy day. My personal life is going down the drain, that's all.
Join the club. You start to do well at work. That's what happens.
And he looks at him. I'm doing well at work.
Let me know when your whole life goes up in smoke. If it goes to shit, then it means it's time for a promotion.
Interior, Miranda's foyer. Andy steps in, carrying the dry cleaning and the book. Moving quickly, suddenly she hears a voice emerging from upstairs.
Andrea, come up here.
Andy practically has a heart attack. Interior, living room. Andy walks in, curious and scared. Andy steps into the apartment.
Paris is the most important week of my year. I need the best team possible with me.
And this is when Andy starts to have a bad feeling.
That no longer includes Emily.
Andy realizes.
Wait, you want me to? Oh no, no. Emily would die. Her whole life is about Paris.
Miranda stares, doesn't care.
She hasn't eaten in weeks. I can't do that, Miranda. I can't.
If you don't go, I'll assume you're not serious about your future at Runway or any other publication.
Andy looks at her.
The decision's yours.
But
That's all.
Exterior, Miranda's building. Andy walks out of the building. Roy opens the door to the town car, but she waves him away. Exterior, Broadway. Andy walks downtown alone, thinking, walks by a newsstand covered with the latest runway, a store window filled with the latest fashion, a bunch of people her age drinking at an outdoor restaurant, looking carefree. Interior, Andy and Nate's apartment. Andy looks through the clips of all her articles from college and at a picture of herself at graduation, surrounded by her parents, her relatives, her friends. Her parents are beaming, exuding pride. Interior, runway, bullpen. The desk outside Miranda's office are empty. We hold for a few beats. Then Andy comes in, walking slowly, still unsure. And at that moment, Miranda appears. They look at each other. Miranda nods, almost imperceptibly. Andy nods back. And Miranda takes her coat off. Andy holds out her arms to take the coat from her. But Miranda puts the coat on Emily's desk instead, right in front of Emily's Arc de Triomphe screensaver. And then Miranda strides into her office, and he sits down, trying to grasp the magnitude of what just happened. And just then, Miranda pokes her head back in.
Don't forget to tell Emily.
And we see Andy's face. Me, Andy, interior, runway, bullpen. Andy's waiting for Emily, dreading her arrival. Suddenly, she can't take it anymore. She dials the phone. Exterior, Midtown Street. Emily's in even more than her usual tizzy.
Emily?
I'm sorry I'm late, Miranda. Miranda wanted some scarves for my Maz, and she told me yesterday, but I forgot. So
Emily, I have to talk to you.
I freaked out, of course, but then I just called the Martine at home and she opened the store early, so I got them.
Emily juggles an Hermes bag, her purse, her cell phone, almost mouths down an old lady. She mouths, sorry.
Okay, Emily, when you get in, I want to talk to you about something.
I hope it's not another Miranda problem.
Not exactly.
Good, because I've got so much to deal with before I go. I swear to God, I can't even...
And that's when Emily steps into the street without looking. The second she steps off the sidewalk, bam! Emily's hit by a taxi. We see her purse, her cell phone, her shopping bag, some of the orange Hermes boxes, and some of the scarves as they fly through the air. Interior, Lenox Hill Hospital. Annie sits in the waiting room, distraught. Interior, hospital room. Lying in a hospital bed, her face with no makeup, wearing a dumpy hospital robe, Emily looks like what she is, a skinny, tired, young girl. Andy stands by the window, arms folded, defensive.
I don't care if she was going to fire you or beat you with a red-hot poker. You should have said no.
I didn't have a choice. You know how she is.
Oh, please, that's a pathetic excuse.
Just then, an orderly walks in with her dinner, laden with fattening foods, a cream soup, bread, pasta, cheese, and dessert. Emily grabs the pudding, peels off the foil top.
What gets me about this whole thing is you're the one who pretends don't care about this stuff. You don't care about fashion. You just want to be a journalist, blah, blah, blah. What a load of bollocks.
She angrily finishes the last spoon of pudding, grabs the dinner roll, which she starts to butter.
Look, I know you're mad, and I don't blame you.
Face it, Andy, you sold your soul the day you put on your first pair of Jimmy Choos.
She bites off a hunk of dinner roll.
You know what really kills me? The clothes we're about to get. You don't deserve them. You eat carbs, for Christ's sake. It's so unfair. Just go.
Emily.
I said go.
Interior, Chelsea Gallery. Lily has curated a show at the gallery where she works. Lily rushes around. Nate is not there yet. Andy stands with Doug. You're going to Paris for the couture show? That's the coolest fashion event of the year. Who are you going to see? Galliano, Lagerfeld, Nicholas Gisquet?
Okay, now you're scaring me.
Just then, Lily walks over to them.
Lily, this show is amazing. I'm so proud of you.
I wasn't sure you were going to be able to make it.
What are you talking about? I wouldn't miss this.
Lily and Doug look at her.
Okay, so lately I've missed a few things. A lot of things. Almost everything.
I'm just glad you're here. Start with the murals in the other room. They're amazing.
A little later, Andy looks at the artwork. Suddenly, she hears a voice.
Hey, Miranda girl.
She closes her eyes. Can't be. She turns up. Yup.
I was just thinking about you.
Come on.
It's true. I'm profiling Gaultier for an interview, and I was making plans for Paris and found myself wondering if you would be there.
Actually,
Stop smiling. Why am I smiling?
I am going.
It's great. I'm staying at a fantastic little hotel in the 7th across the street from the Falafel restaurant. That will change your life.
Sorry, I'll be too busy working. You'll have to find someone else's life to change.
But that's just it. I'm starting to wonder if I can.
And with that, he leans in, plants a soft kiss on her cheek, and he closes her eyes, blushing like crazy. When she opens her eyes, Christian is gone, and it's not for a moment that she notices Lily, about 10 feet away, staring at her, a look of surprise and disgust on her face. Interior, Chelsea Gallery, and he follows Lily through the gallery.
He's just a guy I know from work.
Yeah, that looked like work.
You're making a big deal out of...
Yeah, the Andy I know is madly in love with Nate and is always 5 minutes early and thinks Club Monaco is couture. For the last 16 years, I've known everything about that Andy. But this person?
She gestures to Andy.
The glamazon who skulks around in corners with some random hot fashion guy? I don't get her.
Andy looks at her, stunned.
Have fun in Paris.
He turns and walks away. Andy turns. Nate is standing there.
You're going to Paris?
It just happened.
I thought Paris was some big deal for Emily and...
Great. Now you're going to give me a hard time too.
And Andy walks away, upset. Nate follows her. Exterior, gallery. Nate follows Andy outside.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Miranda asked me, and I couldn't say no, okay? I didn't have a choice.
I know. That's your answer for everything lately. I didn't have a choice. Like this job was forced on you. Like you don't make these decisions yourself.
Okay, I get it. You're mad because I work late all the time, because I missed your birthday party.
Well, come on. What am I for?
You hate runway and Miranda. You think fashion is stupid. You've made that clear.
Andy, I make port wine reductions all day. I'm not exactly in the Peace Corps. I wouldn't care if you were out all night pole dancing if you did it with some integrity.
So now I have no integrity. Great.
You used to say this was just a job. You made fun of the runway girls, and now you've become one of them.
That's absurd.
Look at you. Now that I know how much you're willing to change to be successful, it makes me wonder if we ever had anything in common.
You don't mean that.
I do. I really do.
Beat. Andy tries to catch her breath.
Then maybe this trip is coming at a good time. Maybe we should take a break.
She stands there, waiting for him to protest, throw his arms around her. He looks at her, stunned at what she just said, and after a painful moment, he simply walks away.
Nate?
He turns, and just then her phone rings. They both know who it is, and that she has to take the call.
In case you were wondering, the person whose calls you always take, that's the relationship you're in.
The phone keeps ringing,
I hope you two are very happy together.
and he walks away. Andy clicks on the phone.
Hello, Miranda.
Exterior, Paris, establishing. A limo drives across the city. Interior, limo. Andy looks out the window, watching Paris at night whizzing by. And even though she's still feeling melancholy, she is awed by what she sees. Miranda, sitting across from Andy, is not even looking out the window. She's looking through the book. Exterior, Place de Vendôme. The Paris Ritz. Miranda's limo pulls up. Interior, Ritz Hotel, Andy's suite. Paris. The bellman opens the door to a huge suite.
Wait, this isn't right. Miranda is staying in the suite.
That's correct. Mademoiselle, Miranda Priestley's suite is down the hall.
This is my room?
Interior, fashion show, Paris. Andy sits in the front row beside Miranda. Half the invitees are looking at the clothes. The other half are watching Miranda's reaction to the clothes. Interior, fashion show. Backstage at a fashion show where the models are undressing and changing. Miranda's hobnobs with designers, editors, and celebrities, and Andy's right there beside her. Exterior, fashion show. Miranda walks by some paparazzi outside the Chanel show. They scream her name. She shows off her best smile. Andy squints, blinded by the flash bulbs. Suddenly, she hears a voice behind her.
You know, I've been thinking you still owe me for that Harry Potter book.
She turns, sees Christian, and she finds herself alarmingly happy to see him.
Oh, do I?
Of course you do. You working tonight?
Actually, Miranda has a dinner.
So you're free. Perfect. Oh, but there's a problem, huh? Le boyfriend.
At the mention of this, Andy blushes slightly.
Wait, don't tell me. The boyfriend is non-plus? Je sais plus de sol?
Oh, you're so full of it. You're not a day soleil at all.
Yeah, not even a little. What time should I pick you up?
Interior, Ritz Hotel, Miranda's suite. Andy walks in, cheerful, carrying a seating chart. She's surprised to see Miranda just sitting on the sofa. There's a strange lag before she looks up at Andy. Andy registers something odd. Finally.
There you are. We need to go over a seating chart for the luncheon.
Andy starts to take the chart out of her bag, but she can't help but notice Miranda is staring into space.
Sure, no problem. I have it right here.
And finally, Miranda focuses on her.
By all means, move at a glacial pace. You know how that thrills me.
And he puts down the seating chart. Miranda studies it, and there's an uncharacteristic lag in her decision-making. Andy watches her. Something's definitely is up.
Okay, so first of all, let's put JC at my table.
But your table's full. I don't think Beyonce would like that.
Steven won't be coming. She won't.
She takes the tab off the seating chart and removes it. And he looks at her, not understanding.
So Steven is not. So you don't need me to fetch Steven from the airport tomorrow.
Well, if you speak to him and he decides to rethink the divorce, then fetch him. Fetch away.
Andy now freezes.
When we get back to New York, we'll need to think of a way to keep it out of the press.
Of course.
Another divorce in the papers. And we all know what they'll say about me. Dragon lady, career obsessed. Drove away another Mr. Priestley.
And despite herself, Miranda wanders off her path.
You knew who I was, you know? They all did. And at first, they're always proud to be with a powerful, accomplished woman. That's what they say. But then,
Andy's afraid to move a muscle, afraid to startle Miranda.
I don't care what anyone says about me, of course. But it's so unfair to the girls. Another disappointment. Another stepfather. Gone.
She tries to shake herself out of it.
I mean, the point is...
She pauses to collect herself. For a second, Andy thinks she might actually fall apart.
We really need to figure out where to put Donatella, because she's barely speaking to anyone.
Beat. And Andy can't believe she's recovered so quickly.
Miranda, I'm so sorry. If you want me to cancel your evening, I can.
And her pitying tone finally shakes Miranda back.
Don't be ridiculous. Why would you do that?
Beat. And Andy can't believe she's recovered so quickly.
Miranda, is there anything else I can do?
And Miranda slowly looks at her, the eyes completely forming.
Your job.
Exterior, Ritz Hotel. We see Miranda striding out of the lobby. And what we notice is she looks fine. Done up, confident walk. Interior, limo. Miranda closes the door. And now that she's alone, for 1 second, her veneer cracks. She takes a breath, moving on.
Oh.
Interior, hotel suite. Andy is dressed for her date with Christian. Just then, there's a knock at the door. Andy opens it.
Hi, listen, I need Miranda's itinerary because
He looks at her outfit.
who put that together for you?
She hands him the itinerary.
What do you mean?
That outfit.
I just threw it on.
Incredible. Well, I guess my work here really is done. Come on, let's have some champagne. We are celebrating.
He walks over to the minibar and takes out a champagne, pops the cork, pours 2 glasses.
What are we toasting?
To getting the dream job, the one a million girls wanted.
Nigel, I got my job months ago.
I'm not talking about you.
She looks at him, confused.
James Holt. Massimo is investing in James's company, taking it global with the rest of CFG. Shoes, bags, fragrances, the works. So James needs a partner, and that would be me. Miranda knows. She put me up for it.
You're leaving? Nigel, I can't imagine Runway without you.
Can you believe? Can you believe it? For the first time in 18 years, I'm going to call the shots in my own life. One day, I might be able to come to Paris and actually see Paris.
God, I'm so happy for you, Nigel. You deserve it.
You bet your ass you did.
He raises a glass. They toast. Interior, L'Ambroisie. Christian and Andy have dinner in a tiny romantic restaurant on the Place de Vogue.
I've never seen anyone as dedicated as Miranda.
That's fantastic. Can we stop talking about her now?
I'm just saying, yes, there are things she does I don't agree with, but
Oh, come on, Andy. You hate her. Just admit it. She's a notorious sadist, and not in the good way.
okay, so she's tough. But if Miranda were a man, no one would notice anything but how great she is at her job.
Christian bursts into laughter.
Can't believe this. You're defending her. The wide-eyed girl peddling her earnest newspaper stories. You're crossing over to the dark side.
I resent that.
You shouldn't. Sexy.
He pours her more wine, and despite herself, she smiles.
Sexy? Really?
Really.
Exterior, Paris, street. They walk home together through the Place de Vogue, leaning against each other. Andy is tipsy.
No idea where we're going. You could be leading me anywhere.
Don't worry. I know this city like the back of my hand. It's my favorite place on earth. You know what Gertrude Stein said? America is my country, and Paris is my hometown.
She looks at him and laughs.
You're unbelievable. Do you write that stuff down and file it away to use on girls?
I work freelance. Leaves me with some time on my hands.
Well, I never understood why everyone is so crazy about Paris. But now,
She swirls around,
it's so beautiful.
and suddenly he catches one of her arms and almost like a dance move, pulls her into him and kisses her.
I can't do this. Nate and I only split up a few days ago. I've had too much wine and my judgment is impaired. I barely know you and I'm in a strange city. I'm out of excuses.
Thank God.
Interior, Christian's hotel room. Andy and Christian are kissing on his bed. Interior, Christian's hotel room. Andy wakes up. Her hair and makeup from the night before are askew. She realizes what she did. We hear the sound of the shower running. She sits up, catches sight of herself in the mirror. Ouch. Checks the clock on her phone. Late. Shit. Andy starts getting dressed. Quickly, she tries to find her left shoe, pulls on the bedspread, knocking a few papers on the bedside table, and that's when she sees something. A mock-up of a magazine with the familiar runway logo. She picks it up. Interior, shower. Christian stands under the spray of water. Suddenly, the shower curtains is yanked back. Andy's standing there, furious, holds up the issue of mock-up.
What the hell is this?
Christian, cool as can be, steps out and grabs a towel, which he wraps around himself.
What does it look like? It's a mock-up
Of
of what Runway will look like when Jacqueline is the new editor-in-chief.
He walks into the hotel room. Interior, hotel room. Andy follows him. He calmly dresses as they talk.
they're replacing Miranda?
Yes, and she's bringing me in to run all the editorial content. Are you really surprised? Jacqueline is a lot younger than Miranda, has a fresher take on things. Not to mention that American Runway is one of the most expensive books in the business. Jacqueline does the same thing with a lot less money. Irv is a businessman, you know.
Miranda will be devastated. Runway is her whole life. He can't do that to her.
It's done. Irv was going to tell Miranda after the party for James.
And she has no idea?
She's a big girl. She'll be fine.
He reaches out to grab her arm, but she looks at him with utter contempt.
I have to go.
As she walks away, he calls her after her.
Baby, it's done.
Interior, Ritz Hotel. Corridor. Andy paces. Exterior, Paris Street. Andy races down the street. She dials her cell phone. Miranda picks up.
Oh, thank God. Where are you?
Excuse me?
I need to talk to you right away. It's about Jacqueline Follet. She...
Click.
Shit.
Interior, Hotel Carillion. Corridor. Andy runs down the corridor. She paces a second, knowing she's going to get her ass kicked, then knocks on the door. Irv opens the door. We see Miranda behind him. When she sees Andy, she walks over, turns to Irv.
Excuse us a minute.
Miranda pulls Andy into the hall.
Have you lost your mind?
I need to talk to you.
Do not disturb me again.
Miranda walks into the room, closes the door in Andy's face. Interior, Chateau. Finally, Andy sees Miranda walking in, and Miranda prepares to walk right past her.
Miranda, wait. I have to talk to you. You can fire me if you want to after that, but Irv is going to make Jacqueline the editor-in-chief of Runway. Christian Thompson told me he's going to work for her. Irv's going to tell you today. I thought if I told you now, you could fix it.
Andy stands there, breathless, waiting for Miranda's reaction. And Miranda looks past her. We see she's scrutinizing a passing floral arrangement.
Are those Frasia's?
What? No, I specifically told them.
If I see Frasier anywhere, I will be very disappointed.
She walks away, leaving Andy standing there. Interior, Chateau. We see Miranda mingling with everyone, looking completely poised. Andy watches her, just can't believe her composure. She spots Christian. He raises a glass. She looks away. Suddenly, the room quiets as Nigel steps to the podium. Nigel's at the podium introducing Miranda.
Well, for 72 years, Runway has been more than a magazine. It has been a beacon of a magazine. It has been a beacon of elegance and grace. And Miranda Priestley has been the finest possible guardian of that beacon, setting a standard that inspires people across the globe. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you Miranda Priestley.
We see Andy applauding as Miranda steps to the podium.
Thank you, everyone. Before I talk to you about James and everything he's accomplished, I have news.
James smiles at her, raises a glass of champagne.
Tonight is not just an important night for me, for Runway, and for James. It's also important for someone else in this room.
Andy shoots a look at Christian. Can tell from the look on his face he has no idea where this is going.
As of next month, James will be partnering with CFG in an expansion of his line.
Light applause.
James and Runway have one important thing in common: a commitment to excellence.
Andy looks over at Nigel, beaming.
And so it comes as no surprise that James has selected someone from the Runway family as the new co-president of JH International.
Nigel straightens his suit.
My esteemed colleague, Jacqueline Follet.
And she indicates Jacqueline, who waves. Everyone applauds. Andy's mouth falls open. She looks over at Nigel again. His face betrays nothing. He applauds along with everyone else. And Andy looks at Christian, who is also shocked as hell.
Let's wish Jacqueline the best as she pursues this wonderful opportunity.
A hearty round of applause for Jacqueline. Miranda smiles.
And now to the business at hand, a celebration of one of my favorite designers.
She smiles at James. Interior, chateau. Andy watches everyone swirling around Miranda. She walks over to Nigel among the crowd of well-wishers.
You said it was your dream job.
He turns to her, some emotion on his face now.
I've given her everything I have, Andy. She knows that.
But you don't need her. You could just leave anyway, and
well, shit, fuck, I can't find the line. All right, well, when the time is right, she'll pay me back.
Are you sure about that?
No, but I hope for the best. I have to.
And he rejoins the swirl. Just then, Christian catches Andy's eye. At the same time, Miranda appears in front of her.
I'm ready to go.
And Andy turns and walks away without so much as a glance back at Christian. Interior, limo. Miranda and Andy ride in the limo on their way back to Paris. Miranda is as relaxed as we've seen her.
You thought I didn't know.
Andy nods.
I've known what was happening for quite some time. It took a little while to find a suitable alternative for Jacqueline, one she would accept. Turned out that James' whole job is so absurdly overpaid.
Interior, restaurant. Miranda introduces Massimo to Jacqueline.
She jumped at it.
Interior, limo. Andy takes us in.
Then I let Irv know Jacqueline was unavailable.
Interior, Miranda's hotel room. Miranda welcomes Irv into her hotel suite.
Truth is, there's no one who can do what I do, her included.
Interior, limo. Andy watches Miranda, stunned.
Any of his other choices would find the job impossible, and the magazine would surely suffer, especially because of the list.
Interior, Miranda's hotel room. A quick flash of Miranda with Irv. She pushes the list across the table.
Designers, photographers, editors, writers, models, all of whom were found and nurtured by me.
Interior, limo. Andy listens, amazed.
All of whom have promised to follow me whenever and if ever I leave Runway, to any publication I choose. Of course, as soon as Irv understood, he reconsidered.
Interior, limo. Andy looks at Miranda, taking it all in.
I must say I was impressed with you, how intently you tried to warn me.
Andy looks at her, stunned that she knows.
I never thought I would say this, Andrea, but I see some of myself in you, your dedication, your focus.
Miranda looks out the window. They're approaching the next party and the paparazzi are waiting outside.
People think success happens to you. It doesn't. You choose it. Every day, I choose excellence. Who else does what I do at my level? Nobody. They don't even understand what it takes. The days measured in milliseconds.
And he stares at her.
But now you know, and I know, that you have it in you. That you can see beyond what other people want and choose for yourself.
She smiles, like she's just giving Andy an enormous compliment. Andy reels.
But I don't think I am like that.
Miranda looks at her. Oh?
I couldn't do what you did to Nigel, Miranda. There's no way I could do something like that.
Pause. Andy can barely believe what she said, but instead is exploding. Miranda smiles.
Of course you can. You already did. to Emily.
Andy reels.
That's not what that was different. I didn't have a choice.
No, you did choose. You chose to get ahead. You want this life? Those choices are necessary.
But what if it's not what I want? I mean, what if I don't want to live the way you do?
Miranda looks at her and smiles. And then this time, for the first time, her smile is almost maternal.
Don't be silly, Andrea. This is what everyone wants. Everyone wants to be us.
And with that, she opens the door to the limo. Exterior, red carpet. Onto the red carpet where she is instantly embraced by flashing lights off the cameras. Andy quietly steps up behind Miranda, squinting. She's never gotten used to the lights. Miranda moves down the red carpet. We follow her. It's not until Miranda is about to open the door that she realizes Andy is no longer beside her. Exterior, Paris Street. We see Andy walking up the street in the dusky light. She has never looked more beautiful. She is serene and she is free. The wind blows through her hair. She smiles. Her phone rings. She looks down, sees the name Miranda. Andy doesn't break stride for a moment as she tosses the ringing phone into the nearest fountain. Interior, airport. Andy walks off the plane, sees Lily standing there among the chauffeurs, holding a sign that says Saks. Andy cracks up, walks over to her.
Sorry, town car's in the shop.
You're such a pain.
And you'd be lost without me.
True.
They hug and start walking away together.
Does this mean I have to give my purse back?
She hugs it close. Interior, reunion restaurant. Andy waits nervously. Nate walks in, slides into the booth across from her.
I have to be at work in 10 minutes. What's up?
I just wanted to say,
She gathers her nerve.
Nate, you were right about everything. I turned my back on my friends, my family, on everything I believe in. And for what?
Shoes and jackets and belts and...
Nate, I'm so sorry.
Beat. He looks at her.
I flew up to Boston while you were gone, interviewed at the Oak Room.
And?
You're looking at their new sous chef. I'm moving up there in a few weeks.
That's great. Congratulations.
A moment as it sinks in what this means.
Don't know what I'm going to do without all those late night grilled cheeses.
They have bread in Boston. Might even have Charlesburg. We might be able to figure something out.
You think?
You never know.
They smile at each other. Friends, at least, for now.
So how about you? What are you going to do now?
Not sure.
I'm not worried about you. Anything you try, you're going to kick ass.
You think so?
No, I know it.
Thanks. I actually have a job interview today.
Beat. He looks her up and down.
And that's what you're wearing?
Interior, office. Andy sits across from a scruffy guy in his early 40s. You know our pay is crap.
That's fine.
Your clips were excellent. That thing on the janitors union, that's exactly what we do here. She smiles, humble now. My only question is, runway? What the hell kind of blip was that?
Learned a lot. In the end, though, I kind of screwed it up.
That's not what I hear. And he looks at him, confused. I called over there for a reference, left word with some snooty girl. Next thing you know, I got a fax from Miranda Priestley herself. Andy blanches, saying that of all the assistants she's had, you were by far her biggest disappointment. Andy takes a deep breath. That if I don't hire you, I'm an idiot. On Andy, stunned. Exterior, Elias Clark. Andy walks over to the Elias Clark building, looking at a place that was, in its way, a home to her. Her eyes sweep up the building to the runway offices. She takes out her cell phone. Interior, runway, bullpen. We see Emily back at her desk. The camera widens out so we can see a new second assistant, eager and nervous. She's showing Emily a letter.
My God, you call this a letter? Can you spell any word in the English language?
The phone rings. Emily picks up.
Miranda Priestley's office?
Emily, it's Andy. Don't hang up. I have a favor to ask you.
Interior, runway, bullpen. Emily looks incredulous.
You're joking. You have a favor to ask of me.
Exterior, street. Andy's walking up the street on her cell phone.
Thing is, I have all these clothes from Paris and I don't have any place to wear them, so I was wondering, is there any way you could take them off my hands?
Beat. Emily realizes what Andy's offering, but she won't let that show.
Well, I don't know. It's a huge imposition, but I suppose I could help you out. I'll have Roy pick them up this afternoon.
Thanks, Emily. I appreciate it.
Interior, runway. And without a goodbye, Emily hangs up. The slightest smile creeps across Emily's face, but she quickly recovers, hands the assistant the letter.
Why can't you be more like Andy?
Exterior, street. Andy hangs up her phone and smiles. And suddenly, she sees Miranda walk out of the building, on the phone.
I don't understand why it's so challenging to get a car when I ask for one.
It should be there any second.
And at that moment, the car edges into view. Miranda hangs up and strides towards him. And just then, something catches Miranda's eye. Andy, watching her, they look at each other. A beat. And then Andy nods her, in thanks, in salutation, and in farewell. But Miranda does not react. She gets into her car. Andy shakes her head. That's Miranda. She smiles, then turns and starts to walk down the street. Interior, car. Miranda gets in, sits back in her seat, through her window, and she can see Andy, a bounce in her step, walking away. And Miranda, alone, when no one can see her, finally breaks into a real smile. She nods to her driver.
Oh!
Exterior, street. Andy walks away, smiles, shakes her head, the whole thing almost like a dream. And as she continues moving confidently in the opposite direction from Miranda, we fade out. The Devil Wears Prada.
Woo!
Travis, I'm so sorry.
How
No,
nice
all
does
good.
your
You made a
head
great
feel?
editor.
I'm
That
so
was
sorry. I thought that was
fantastic.
under my name. I'm so sorry.
All good. All
Okay.
good.
Well,
That's fine.
everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yay!